95.1 Abuja.
In a world of movie chaos and trailer apocalypse, only one station gives you the latest and helps you make sense of it all.
I'm not here as a witness.
They were my friends. Oh, I just don't trust you.
So sit back, strap in as we take you through the world of movies. Animations.
Smile and wave, boys.
Original soundtracks. And awesomeness of epic proportions.
You just want to laugh at me like everyone else.
It's the
Awesome. Our friends, our family.
Sundays, 8 p.m. on your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk movies. Right now, right now, right now.
Morning Crossfire on 95.1 Nigeria Info.
A very good morning to you and to yours and to all the lovely people out there. Good morning, Nigeria, I would say, this very morning. I'm also so happy to be here. I'm Femi D Amele. This is the Roundtable. We've waited this from January till now. Yes, today is what, June 28, yeah? We've waited from January till now to look into all the stories that we can think about and examine and just, pretty much get the best of it. In the next 3 days, we'll get the best of it and see where all this goes. I guess, as you know, the Roundtable, you get to listen to what some of your favorite people across the nation really think about issues in the most intimate way. They will tell you how they really feel about them. What is it like to analyze some of those news stories? And when you finally have to break your silence to talk about them, well, you'll get to find out in the next 2 hours. We'll get the best of this as we listen to each other, examine many of these issues. Oh yes, from wherever you're listening to us, we're excited you're on. We are proud to know that you can listen to Nigeria Info across Nigeria in many of the key cities where we are on. It's an exciting time to listen to some of our friends from Port Harcourt, from Lagos, and here in Abuja. Let me take the time now to introduce some of my colleagues who will be talking with me on the Roundtable for day one today. All right, so let me start from Abuja, yeah? I've got my dear friend Fidel. What did you say your surname is? That's again.
My name is Fidel Oseghale.
All right, no wahala. And of course, Andrew is also standing by this very morning to join in. Good morning, Andrew. How are you today?
Good morning, the studio. Good morning, everybody from Port Harcourt, host of the Morning Crossfire.
Yeah.
Really interesting. What a good conversation.
And of course, that's Andrew Ifiemi. Many of you know him. Is the guy that goes, think about it. He has that pause when he speaks, and when he goes to extend his own show. It's always nice to listen to you when I can catch up. Maryann is also joining in. Mary, good morning to you.
Hello, Femi. So good to be here this morning.
Yes, I'm breaking out from my stalker's mode. I usually stalk you on Instagram, and I used to ask myself, how does this dear beloved do all this exercise? I still have energy for Nigeria Matter, but it's good to know. In fact, Nigeria Matter requires a lot of energy, guys.
You must be able to double, multitask on these kinds of issues. So, yeah. That's what it is.
Wait, let me ask you guys. Let me start with Andrew. How do you guys feel? It looks like there's a change in news cycle. Let me start with Andrew. Before now, we used to wait around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, there'll be news release, and then we start off to say, hey, it has happened. So what do we do next? But now it looks like it's the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. Somebody will just drop news, everybody will go and sleep. Then you wake up and you're trying to resolve the matter you don't know anything about. Andrew, how do you feel about the news cycle? It looks like the timing has changed. It's more intense and so many other things is going on. Let's start from there. What's your take on that? How is that going?
I think for me, people are being smarter, leaders, organizations, government in particular. If you remember, one very important information we woke up to hear was the announcement of our president by INEC that happened way into the night. So It's just changes would come. People would look at how we respond to this information when we get them, and then they look at, okay, let's see as we make progress, how do people react. And besides, when it comes in the evening, the good thing is you wake up in the morning and before you try to realize, it's already far gone, because whatever it is, if it had, when we used to have issues come up like maybe in the afternoon, you see, before the government does anything, if the government was perhaps dropping that information, everybody gets on them and say, why would you be doing this? Oh no, the government should not do that.
Andrew, are you there? Okay, looks now this is the part where the network would almost it will let us breathe, if I would say. But Maryann, I do want to complete this line of thinking. Looks like Andrew may be frozen out due to the internet this time. But Maryann, what's your take on this? How do you feel doing this thing? I don't know. Where do people get the energy from? Can I rent some energy?
I guess that, when you sign up to be a journalist, you never really know exactly all that you're signing up for. It's and this is what I tell a lot of young journalists, that it's not just about the glitz and the glamour or speaking great English or your knowledge of history and government. It's about your ability to absorb certain information and not let everybody else understand what you're going through or what you feel about it. You can't be too emotional as a journalist. You have to report the news as it is. You have to try once in a while to be unopinionated and be as objective as possible, even though we as human beings, we're all political animals and we have, our leanings personally. But for journalists, on paper, we're not allowed to like any political party or belong to any. But as humans, we have biases. But then I think the training that you have on the job enables you or strengthens you in that regard to be able to, stay the course, tell the stories as it is, try to balance issues, for and against. And that's why people like you and me, Femi, would always be accused on day one. Maybe on Monday we're PDP, and then on Tuesday we're APC, and then on Wednesday we're Labour Party. That is a sign that you're doing your job properly. As much as during the election season, I must tell you, it was so difficult. I wouldn't lie. Sleeping was tough. I mean, I barely caught a wink during that time because, as you know, I double do things on the front. And it was tough for some of us. Some of us were very emotional, but we had to, wear a tough face and do our jobs. A couple of us broke down. I know some of us who needed a shoulder to, lean on. But the beauty of doing this job is that no matter how bad the day is, you wake up and wear a smile and then tell your listeners, it's a new day. It's a beautiful day. Let's talk.
And we've been doing this talk for a while. And one man as well is, one man, I mean, when I talk to Fidel is one guy that his mood never changes. Nothing. He has seen it all. He has seen it. Nothing changes Fidel. Fidel will just come to work, say, Fidel, can you confirm the story? He said, you know how this story they go. Fidel.
Well, I think I will take a different...
How do you practice the lack of emotion? Mark my words, lack of emotions around news.
Well, Stella stars are made for those who are stern, I think one of the areas, the angles I'll take this would be social media, a different turn. Most times, people just fly kites. I'll use the example of Femi D Amele, for instance, when people said, we are very sure he's going to be the chief of staff. So many of us know some of the things, so many of you know also. But our job is to wait, confirm before we break. It is even better not to break than to break fake news than... instead of waiting, the whole while. So people were saying it was going to be Femi D Amele. Even when he was asked at the Villa, he said, please just wait, take it easy. When it comes, it comes. He was also political about it because he didn't want to offend the powers that be, So in this regard, social media will tell you he's going to be the next chief of staff. Eventually, he became the chief of staff. What if he did not become the chief of staff? So we are contending a lot with social media news, and most of the time, you cannot. Some of us have called for regulation, not to gag them, but sometimes fake news is very, very dire. So instead, when we say we want to wait for someone to confirm it, it doesn't mean we don't know what you know, because you can just confirm, and at the long run, it might be fake. So that is why we wait. It's not like we don't know. I told you so. I told you so doesn't mean that it is going to be positive at all times. Flying a kite is, yes, it's good to fly a kite, but we can't do that because we are Under
as a kite flyer. Okay,
Yes.
no wala.
Yeah.
Chioma also joins, and Chioma is the news manager in Port Harcourt, and she's on this very morning. It's, I've never seen a state that made, broke, remodeled, reshaped, turned around, turned together like what we had with the effects of reverse effects, okay? I'm not calling names, but Chioma was there to write a lot of the stories for the first 6 months of this year. Chioma, good morning to you. Good to connect to you. How are you today? Yeah.
Happy holiday.
Yeah, same to you. We're just talking about how the news makes us feel. I mean, there's a lot of issues to touch on, but how the news makes us feel. And I know you have a special news coverage collection in your domain, in Rivers. How has that been in the last 6 months for you?
Interesting, really. So much to talk about. We have a former governor who continues to even dominate the news space more than the current governor.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. Okay, go on, yes.
So it's been a very interesting one, really. River State has been of quite a huge national interest in recent times for so many reasons, apart from being oil city, like they say, so much about the politics as well. River State has been at the play because of the former governors, so many comments and actions and inactions, supposedly, not attending PDP meetings, or comments he's made or revelations he's made, like the recent one revealing that he was poisoned in 2018. So much has been said about that one as well.
Yeah.
So yes, River State, we've been busy here. We have been.
Always busy. We'll grow up, we'll someday be like you. And people in Abuja thought they were the special citizens, by the way. They thought so. They did not know. They did not know the real thing. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to us in any of the cities that you're on right now, go to Nigeria Info page in your city, and I'm sure you'll be able to watch us live as well. So if you're in Lagos, go to the Nigeria Info page in Lagos, okay? Just go on, drop your comments as we start off the major part of this conversation. Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, it works fine. Drop your comments there on our Nigeria Info page as well. And yes, you can also leave your WhatsApp messages. We'll try to bring everything in. It's such an hilarious situation we find ourselves. This 6 months doesn't feel like 6 months. It feels like 6 years so far because of a lot of the things we've experienced. And because of that experience of what we've gone through in the last 6 months, can I say 6 months? I almost said 6 years. In the last 6 months, let's make an attempt to examine some of these major issues. For example, cash crunch, okay? Cash crunch. I don't know if anybody is following through with how we started. Wait, let me start. I brought my full laptop, the one that I use for work upstairs, so that I can look at how did we get here and the stories around that. And when I look through some of these stories, it's quite hilarious to understand that 26th of October, 2022, the CBN governor goes on to make it clear that, oh, well, guys, it looks like we're going to make an attempt to build up a new system of new Naira notes, right? That did come into play. And then after just saying that, and he talked about the 200 Naira note, 500 Naira notes, 1,000 Naira notes to be replaced. Then the Minister of Finance, the former Minister of Finance, Ahmed Zainab, they say, I'm not there. I did not know about this thing that they are talking about. She was not consulted, according to her. And she talks about the implication. And she even predicted at some point that, well, we could see the 1,000 Naira to exchange for $1. I think that was the part that made news bite at that point in time. And then there was the public outcry by the time we got to January, 21st of January. And by the 24th of January, the National Assembly asked the CBN to extend the deadline, right? 25th of January, we had Mr. Tinubu say, you people want to come after me with this your Naira policy, but they don't understand how this thing works. Then 28th of January, you had the Nigerian Bar Association also join into the debate and say, well, there are ways to do these things. Let's be better than this. And yes, down the line, we had the likes of Atiku make comments saying it is good, then later said it's not good. And yes, there was also the Kaduna states, the tripartite states that did carry the Nigerian government to court and the likes of that. Let me start with Fidel. This issue of cash crunch, they said it was really ideal to change the Naira notes because we had not changed the Naira notes for a while before then. And now that that was introduced, it sounded noble, but it also sounded like it was out of place or the occurrence of it. Cash crunch, let's talk about how do you remember it? And did we buy what was sold or did we get into more trouble?
Well, I think that was a major drama because the CBN had come out on December 6th to announce, yes, we're going to change, or rather redesign 200, 500, and 1,000. And they gave reasons why they wanted to do that. They said it was to curb vote buying, it was to check inflation, it was to check counterfeiting, and of course corruption. And they come all out and said, okay, from January the 31st, we're going to, bringing in new Naira notes, and of course eventually extended, to like February 10th. Mm-hmm. Now, when all of these, were happening, so many people were saying, okay, it is because the election coming up, the general election, 25th February, that is the reason, vote buying, you won't be able to carry volumes of money when you use lower denominations like 100 Naira. I mean, if you're going to share money, definitely you have to get like 10 Ghana must goes, 20 Ghana must goes to get to the required level. But for me, that was not a story. The story for me was how it affected Nigerians.
Okay.
So many people, you find out first off, you couldn't use the local POS. There was no money in, what's it called, ATM machines and all of that. Some banks would even tell you, you cannot withdraw more than 5,000. Some very critical cases, you cannot withdraw more than 2,000 Naira. I can imagine the many people who died in the hospitals because they had cash in their bank accounts. They couldn't make payments. They couldn't make, make down payments for goods and services, and it was really hard on Nigerians. Now, the beauty of it from the other side, ironically, the beauty of it is some of us were thinking, okay, maybe we'll get used to these new Naira notes. But these new Naira notes were not even available. As we speak, I can count the number of times I've seen that new 500 Naira notes, not even up to 5 times.
Yeah.
Now, apart from that, as if that was not hard enough, we had issues with our transportation system. We had issues with unavailability of these new Naira notes, all for us to see a turnaround way after the announcement of the new president, and the Naira notes started coming out. And this did not curb vote buying. It did not check any form of round tripping. In fact, inflation has even, is even gone way higher, which means for us, we think it was a hatchet job.
Ah, okay. Well, that's the position of the new president. He also described it as the suspended governor, the CBN governor, would have to answer questions around this. Let me come to Chioma on this. I mean, in Rivers, we've never been shy of commentary from Rivers. Rivers became a national state. Can I say it like that? Yeah, a national interest. Every time comment comes out from the former governor, Nyesom Wike, who was in charge of Rivers at the time, he has strong comments about that policy. He felt it was out of place as well. But the people in Rivers State, I'm sure they had their own measure of experience. Their own experience around this. Chioma, what do you remember being told every time you had to build a report that involved Naira notes? And I know Nigerians, every time you say, you ask them, maybe for example, is your wife pregnant now? No, it's the new Naira note that cost it. How was it like reporting that?
It was really disheartening, I was going to say. You could see it for yourself. It affected everything. We saw long queues that you think that something was going on, but when you look closely, nothing was actually going on. People weren't getting cash, both from the POS machines, the ATM machines, and the banks. And so much was recorded at that time. So much disaster. I remember people being stranded either at the hospital, because I had to also visit the hospitals a lot at the time. And we saw a lot of people who, they really want to get treatment, but they cannot get treatment because, especially for the teaching hospitals, where the banks manage the cash. Where the banks were not, there was a lot of back and forth, and the fact that there was still poor access to information. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. I remember at a point they said, okay, you can put out all your old Naira notes, go to the CBN, and then we go to the CBN to cover this supposed giving out of the old notes, and there's nothing going on, and no one is telling anybody anything. And so something else is in the news, but something entirely different is going on when you get to the CBN offices, and they're not willing to talk to the press, and it was really very frustrating covering.
Yeah, and I must say, I mean, frustrating in every right of it, but also, I mean, from the end of Andrew, I don't know how you did your Survive the Money show, but I tell you, I was having everybody felt we were an extension of responsibility to explain what has gone on in the news. I don't know, how was it for you on the Money Show? What was your take? And I mean, listening to people, the experience was this. You would come out to say, oh, the government said you cannot take your money to your CBN branch. Then people now tell you that, no, we are now there. The CBN branch is not open. They say we should go back to our banks. It felt for a moment that we ourselves were misleading people, even though, can I say we're being misled? No, we're being told something else as well. Andrew, how was that like? Release information along the lines of, oh, this was what we should do. And then it comes back like, no, saying it is not the same thing as acting it out. What was that like for you?
It was very interesting. I think the best that we could do, that I did on the Morning Show, was to see how the information from both sides. Like, you hear what the government is saying, you find out from the CBN, you find out from the banks, then we talk to the residents, previous operators, and then when you do this, you really find that somewhere in between, somebody is really the truth. And Chioma rightly said, let me explain it better. Now we no longer have a timeline, at least until December, so we have quite a lot of time, but we do not see the new news. I think that alone explains everything. Because at the time you would see the bank would say, oh, the CBN was not giving us a lot of cash. The CBN had limits on how much cash you can withdraw over the counter. The CBN would say, we've given banks, and if you said quite a number of times, enough cash in banks. They even had videos circulating, if you remember, of so these monies were from home, not have kept and they're not giving out. Later we found out that, oh no.
Oh, yeah. Andrew, we're keeping up with you if you can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, you're back now. Yes, you're back, Andrew. Go on.
Yes. So you have to reconfigure the ATMs because they could not dispense this denomination for only 1,000 Naira denomination. There was plenty back and forth. But my interest.
Okay. Looks like Andrew's going to have to look for extra network to help complete this line of thinking on this.
Interest was largely about the.
All right, Andrew. It looks like we're going to have to wait around a little bit more for you to pick up from your end. The network is a little bit all over the. Don't mind us. Maryann and I go way back. So we have a lot of jokes that we often do share with each other. But Maryann, I'm a little bit curious. Should we go to the social media constituency around this? Oh my Jesus. I saw things on Twitter that I wonderment about. Totally was surprised and was taken all over the place. Somebody made a comment. I think one of the comments I recall from there was the fact that the new Naira notes are photocopies. Somebody said it looks like money that you left in your trouser and wash the trouser, wash the juice, wash it. And then you now brought it out to dry. You now realize that, you added bleach to the washing and the likes of that. There were all kinds of comments. Sincerely, and I'm not recovered because I went through those comments again today and they made me laugh so much. And I say, Nigerians can select they can be very choosy about their choice of words as regards, the issues that they do provide analysis on. Let's talk about the Naira notes from your end. How was it like? What did you experience? Did it even make sense that we were even changing the money in the very first place? And then getting the governors to go to court to say, no. And then some governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, at some point said, guys, continue to spend your own Naira notes. It literally created a scenario that it looked like a state inside the federation was different. Maryann, your take on this?
Femi, I'm just going to start by saying that it was a total mess. I've never seen anything as hot a mess as what happened during the cash crunch situation. For me personally, it didn't really affect me that much because naturally I I don't carry cash around. I mostly withdraw cash if I know that I had to give somebody money, tip a security man or something. I never really. So it just got to the point where people now started saying, no, I don't want transfer. Give me money, if we had 5 pension things. But let's talk about the general overview of it. When the CBN came up with this idea, for me, it sounded a bit outlandish because, this is not the first time a CBN governor has, swapped Naira notes. We saw it under the now Anambra State governor. We've seen it under several other CBN governors. Why was this one such a dramatic move? I remember talking to some analysts, and most of them kept saying that this is not that's how they called it. They said, look, there had to be some paper, some strategy that's supposed to give the government a nod to go about this Naira cash swap or whatever they called it. So they kept saying it wasn't a currency change. It was just, let me tell you the most hilarious one I heard, that it was a Snapchat filter that was used Naira. I think that's the one that took
my
me
chest.
out. Yes, I heard it so many times, and I just couldn't stop laughing. But here's the thing: in my opinion, I think that this was purely political. It was one of those political intrigues that was meant to upstage. I'm not going to say who. I don't even know who they were trying to get at, because if you ask me, who's the CBN governor working for? Who was the president in power, and who was the candidate that this whole situation were trying to upstage? Because you looked into the ABC camp and they were saying, they were all alleging that this was a strategy, a move against the Tinubu, candidature at the time. We saw a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar jumping on it and saying this is a great strategy. All Nigerians must endure, blah blah blah. We even saw a piece of also coming out to say, well, Nigerians, this might be a good, strategy. Let's just see how it goes. It just seemed like the APC campaign team were the only ones who felt targeted by this. So there's no how you're going to tell me, sir, because as at today, just as Fidel said, or somebody else said, I've not seen that new Naira. I saw it one time. How did I see it? A friend of mine who was in the CBN, at some point I told her I need to give cash to somebody and I had nothing. I wanted to send somebody to the market. I was unable to send the person to the market because you can't go to the market and do transfer. So she got me 10,000. Even she, who works in the CBN, was unable to get more than 10,000 naira. And that was the first time I saw the 1,000 naira note, I think. But that was it. Till today, we haven't seen those monies. So it makes the average person, the average thinker, the person who's watching, even from the the outside, ask why this whole fiasco in the first place. Why did we even go through this drama? Why did you have to squeeze Nigerians so badly? I remember a man who called on the radio saying he has not been able to feed his kids for 2 days. Why? He couldn't get, he kept saying, I have money, it's not that I don't have money, but I cannot reach the money. My children drank Gary last night. This morning again, they are looking at me with puppy eyes like, what's gonna happen? So it was just an unnecessary, dramatic, I don't know, because they were playing ping pong with us, just as you said. Oh, it comes to the CBN will pong us back to the banks, and the banks, it was just a mess. And truly, I spoke to somebody in one of the commercial banks in Trust, and she said to me, the truth is that the CBN is not releasing these monies to us. So it's what we have that we miserly give out in those ATM machines and on the, over the counter. And when it's done, it's done. So if people they should come and tear their shirts in the banking hall, there's nothing we can do.
Thank you. Wait, Maryann, wait. You've gone to a terrain that was trying to dodge, but now you have brought it on. People tearing shirts in the banking hall. Yeah, let me say in the bank. Let me go Yoruba in the banking hall.
And the Spider-Man moves as well. We had people climbing the protectors of banks. Oh my goodness!
I thought it was only me.
But you see, people were emotional about this. It was tough on them. What could they have possibly done?
Yes, and it was also wrong timing. When you think about the timing of everything, it was really wrong timing.
Yeah,
and a lot of Nigerians didn't see it coming. Especially because there's a culture of where we think if there's a deadline for something, there's gonna.
But usually deadlines in Nigeria die. Deadlines die before we move. I don't know if everybody gets that feeling.
One deadline in this country is sacrosanct. I'm sorry.
So with that mindset, a lot of people didn't see the fact that humanity, we had to question our humanity that period because we saw POS operators selling 1,000 for 1,000.
They were smiling to the bank.
We showed that.
Cashing out. We had 1,000 for 1,000. We had 1,000 for 2,000. We had all kinds of ridiculous. And then some people still do not talk to some POS operators up to today. Like, how can I talk to you?
The beef is real. The beef
1,000 for 1,000.
Andrew, I don't know if it happened to Andrew. I remember for 1 week straight, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., I will wake up in the night, go and stand where there's network in my house and stand like this and wait to do that transfer and make sure that it goes. Did anybody experience that? Andrew, are you with me?
It was bad. Like this particular one was bad. I couldn't do transfers. So basically, I'll call my friend in one of the commercial banks and then he'll tell me, okay, see, because of traffic, you just have to wait early in the morning, maybe 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You just log in. The apps were basically almost not working. It was crazy. And I think it just showed us that humans could be animals if you take away certain things from us, because people lost it. It became really crazy. And at that point, you'd hear everybody say, NCC says, everything is fine, the networks are fine, the telecommunication companies are telling you everything is okay, networks are fine. The CBN is saying we're trying to encourage online banking, use the Naira wallet, if you remember.
Yeah. Oh, my Jesus. I'm sorry. Sorry for it. Go on.
How many people know about the e-Naira? How much publicity do we have going into this? I'm almost sure not many. So I get into a cab and you're telling me, I'll tell the driver, give me your e-Naira wallet, let me do a transfer. Like, it doesn't even know what that is. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So it was crazy doing anything at that time.
I want to look
I must also say, Femi, that it was also a reminder of the resilient and, Nigerians and their tenacity. A lot of people were determined. We saw, Maryann mentioned earlier that market women were not collecting transfer. It's not true. In Port Harcourt, it became a normal thing.
Well, but it took some time. Chioma, it took a while for them to
not
adapt.
want to hear anything about bank and SMS and all of those things. They were open to it. And then
it took a while for them to actually adapt, Chioma, because at first everybody wanted cash. They wanted the new money. Nobody told them. So this is what happened. I must say this. I must applaud. I'm not going to promote any money wallets, Naira wallets, whatever. But the lights, they came to the forefront, and so it was easy to transfer monies to those platforms. But I must also say that my bank was the only bank, one of the only banks that doesn't have so many customers, and so I had no problem transferring.
Wow!
Really?
Wow!
We have issues. Wow! I think I still have monies that I transferred, and the person never got, and today we don't know where it went.
Yeah, that happened one of generation banks, but I have one old bank.
Tweeted them, and they will still not respond to you.
Yeah, but ladies, one interesting thing about the scenario. Just by the way, I want to know the type of friends Andrew and Maryann. I mean, they've mentioned they have banker friends. It tells you that we are not mates. We are not mates in this thing. They have banker friends. In me, I was we will arrange somebody to stand on the queue. Then after 2 hours, we go and join the queue. We were doing like that turn by turn. I'm just saying that was the experience. But guys,
520 something.
I still have one of the paper they gave me, my wallet, my tally number. Do you remember the advert where you say, "Where's my tally number"? You remember?
Yes.
Where does
definitely?
Yeah. Okay, but it's of interest. It's of interest. Andrew, you mentioned the e-Naira, which was supposed to be one of the ways in which the government was going to resolve this. I'm looking at the e-Naira app as I have it on my phone now, the store now, and I'm seeing it's been reviewed about 3,900 times. 9,000 reviews, 500k downloads, and the app is just there. I don't know who's using it. Is anybody using the e-Naira wallet app?
I think I don't use it, but I think it is elitist. You found out during the times, the cash crunch, you find out that the app drivers, they would insist they wait for you to do the transfer. You know, I think the only good thing that this cash crunch brought in was Abuja will have loads of artisans, and they insist on cash when they do jobs for you. So it was this period, this cash crunch period was a time when they were all forced to go get bank accounts. I think that was the only positive from this one.
So let me ask Chioma this, and I'm asking everybody. I mean, we'll round off this part of the conversation by touching on this. When you have money in your wallet, I don't know if you people still use wallet, if your mind carried to use wallet, but when you have money on you...
I've never had a wallet. I've never owned a wallet.
And there goes Fidel. Okay.
You're that guy.
That guy. You know that guy. That voice have done strong thing before. That don't want to go to the story. But you know, when you have, let's say, 10,000 naira in your wallet, you now see one new naira note, one new 1,000 naira note hanging there in the collection. Something you say, spend this money. Spend this money. That's the feeling I get. Spend this money before they say this money is not working again. I don't know. Is anybody feeling like that? Or I'm the only one feeling like...
I'm the only one feeling like that.
Fidel, actually, I haven't seen the new Naira notes since the cash crunch. So, I haven't seen, since it ended, I have still not seen the new Naira notes to date. And it's still very scarce. And I'm actually looking to see what this administration would do with all of that. I mean, there's a Supreme Court ruling that says the deadline is December 31. We haven't actually heard anyone say anything about that. And we do hope it to be addressed.
Chioma, I will show you the new Naira note. I have one.
He has one.
I have one.
See it here.
It's mine, actually.
Why is the man upside down?
It's mine.
Why is the man upside down? Oh, sorry, I turned it up.
Can I have it back now?
Is that...
This is
200. Can I have it?
Like a real Pinterest, you know.
Femi.
Hey, that's that kind. See on my hand is red. They have done Fidel. Hey, jeez. Okay, no wahala. But let me push Andrew. Andrew, would you?
But then again,
yeah.
When you look at the entire things people have said about the design, you realize that what makes our Naira is like a totem object for us as Nigerians. It doesn't really matter the design.
Yeah.
Just on the second thought here, whatever it looks like, whatever the color is, or whatever effect it has on your pocket, it's our money. You should respect it. You shouldn't, So let's try to be more Nigerian. Nigerianness in us.
Andrew, let me ask Andrew this. Andrew, keep the new Naira notes or keep it out. What do you think the final verdict should look like? Keep or let go? Let's move on with our life. Because remember, just before you answer, remember, we have two versions of the 100 Naira notes. We have the
200.
Yes.
No, there's no 100.
No,
200.
the old 100 Naira notes, the one that was paper-like then, it still exists. And then the fiber one is still around as well. No, that's how we arrived at that, and we never resolved it. So I'm asking about the 200, 500, 1,000 Naira notes. Keep the new guys that joined in or let them go. What's your take on that?
So on my show, right, I probably a prophet, but I told everyone, I said, I'm looking at December, and I think we would end up not using the new Naira notes.
Not using it.
It's just going to be what happened to all the money. We might, I might be wrong, but I look at every indices and I feel we're going to keep that note out. Like, it will end up.
It will end. Okay. What about you, Maryann? What do you think? Keep or let go? What do you think it will be under the new administration?
I really, let's talk body languages now. From the body language of Mr. President, I think that might not necessarily be a priority on his list in terms of the economic reforms or whatever he wants to do. So it might fizzle out, we might not necessarily visit it. But if a CBN governor is changed and somebody's put there, I'm thinking he might want to review it if he's one of those people who also felt a certain way about, the whole drama and the wahala of the cash. He might change it or want to review it, but I don't know, because according to the CBI, according to Emefiele, monies went into it. Monies went into this showy production.
Yeah, money to print money.
Millions.
Yeah, so somebody must account for it, and kicking it off, the table might also raise a debate of sorts. So let's be patient. Let's see how it plays out.
Okay, Chioma, are you which gang are you now? Because which cabinet are you now? Keep or go, let go.
When you look at the economy right now, obviously we cannot begin to deal with what it would have, how it will affect, Nigerians when we say let's take it out. So let's just coexist. like what happened with the 100 Naira note. Like I said, I haven't even seen it, so it's still really very scarce.
But I just showed you.
So let's just...
That's Fidel's 200
Naira.
Naira.
Mean when being able to happen, perhaps. I think the best thing is for you to just coexist and let's not have another drama when it comes to money. Nigerians are currently dealing with so much, what they call economic pains. Add of cash.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's leave that. Let's leave it at that. When it comes to cash crunch, right now it doesn't even matter which one you get. Let's just get the spendable one. I think that's where we are, and it looks like we're living our life. Everything was going well until the 2023 elections did come into the fray. We've never seen. Maybe we've had a contested election so much here, but it looks like there was more drama than one could account for in the 2023 elections. The build up to it. I mean, we had 18 registered parties, right? Then we ended up having 4 that was quite super bigger than the rest of them. We had APC, we had PDP, we had, I wanted to say Labour Party, and then LDP came to my head again. Labour Party, I insist it's Labour Party, I want to say. When we had NNPP, right? Then we had some other parties as well that ended up saying, I'm the chairman, I'm not the chairman. They had all kind of officials going on with their own drama along the lines of that. Without even pointing at one particular direction, let me start off with Chioma now on this issue of 2023 elections. There's been a lot of technical reviews around it. The EU, they put up their own review. Observers are putting up their own review. Media houses are also putting up their own review and the likes of that. How do you think the typical Nigerian understood the 2023 election to be different from every other election we've had so far in the country? We had 2019 election, we had like a 2-horse race, but now it looks like it's a whole lot that's on the run, running in different direction, and there was poto everywhere, there were all kinds of things going on. But a typical Nigerian at the 2023 election, how do you think they perceive it, or they perceived it, and do you think it did us any good? Let me take it up from there, Chioma.
Before the elections, we talked about the NSAS protest. And so when that protest couldn't continue, it kind of built a momentum for people to look forward to the elections to make the changes they were requesting for during the protest. And so it made the 2023 election a very special one. So we saw a lot of celebrities and, influencers pushing for people to get registered, get your PVC. The whole PVC thing was trending. I mean, it became like a thing for you to own a PVC. People would come, post with their PVC online and all of that. And so that kind of gave a lot of people, there were high expectations, really, Femi. And then the elections came and they all went. We saw massive turnout. I mean, the first we've ever seen. I've covered a lot of elections before then, and I mean, this was the largest I've ever seen in the South. A lot of Nigerians came out. They planned for the election. They showed up for this election, Femi. And then things that are going wrong about early mornings and middays. It was clear that the election wasn't going to end well, perhaps, because we had issues of late arrival of materials, and that kind of dampened a lot of people's spirit. I remember going to the polling units and people were just there, massive crowd waiting, and INEC officials weren't there, even up until 10 a.m. And so we had people already complaining and talking about what it took them to perhaps even trek long distances, and they were waiting. And that kind of dampened a lot of people's spirit. And then finally this thing arrives, and then they couldn't even vote. You're giving like number 1,500. I kept getting calls even about midnight to the following day, that's February 26th. I kept getting calls of people saying, I'm still at my polling unit, I must vote. And they still couldn't.
Yeah.
They still couldn't. Right?
It was sad.
That's kind of dampened a lot of people's spirit. And so the high expectations just dipped really sharply. And so after the election, by the next election, there was low turnout.
Okay, so we're going to deal with the presidential and, of course, the gubernatorial elections. Somehow, we would find a way to touch on that as well. Maryann, I'm getting really very fascinated. I'm looking at the numbers again. Where's that glasses of mine? The one that moment they tell you need glasses, but you keep telling yourself, no, I don't want to use glasses. But they say you need glasses. Like Maryann, you should see Maryann, when she goes out, there's no glasses. But right now, my sister is using glasses. Okay. Maryann, I'm looking at the numbers. According to somebody, you said the numbers announced by INEC. Somebody would say the results that they gave us. Another version would say the results we are living by, the results we are going to court for, right? What we know, the APC, right, had 8.7 million votes, right? PDP with 6.9 million votes. And then the Labour Party also had 6 million plus, right, in this whole election. And that goes on and on. Of course, NNPP had 1 million plus as well in terms of the results of the election. I want to ask you, when you think about the level of polarization, how do you say that word again?
Polarization.
Yes, polarized, yeah. That people felt during this last election, the articulated, the Jagabanistas, even the ones that had uniforms, they had uniform at some point.
And obedience.
The obedience. Oh no, that's the whole subject. Right? The obedience, the concoursiers, and the likes of that, and the other groups that were formed around this. The level of polarization, yes, I think I pronounced it successfully this time, that did build up around the election, and the people that felt, no, this is my Messiah. Do you think this Messiah factor, still it drives us mad sometimes when we are trying to use logic to follow through with what works? Because a lot of people saw their candidates as their various messiahs, and I think that's kind of troubling, right?
Let me start by laying this foundation, Femi. Nobody goes into an election hoping to fail, okay? So, and this goes to the concoursiers, the obedient, the articulated, and of course the what were they called again?
Jagabanistas or Emile Okon.
Yeah. So everybody hopes to win an election, and that's why they build this momentum. In fact, I tell you what I think, just as Chioma said, the momentum, that the energy that people built from the NSAS aftermath, it's not just the NSAS in itself, the aftermath, the fact that government played a yo-yo game with, the justice that people were supposed to get, as a fallout of that NSAS whole thing. People they were looking for, just as you said, a messiah of sorts, and they found it in the different candidates. Now, every other person, whether we like it or not, thinks that their candidate won, aside from those who did not have up to 6 million votes. Everybody, and that's why they're all at the tribunal. But I'll tell you what, the major issue here is INEC. And I mean, anybody can take me up on this. I'll be on social media waiting for you. INEC had laid the foundation for this kind of debate to happen. INEC, I would continue to say, did us played us dirty, more like what I ordered and what I got. INEC raised the hopes of Nigerians up to the ceiling, beyond it, shot us so far up that we expected that this was going to be grand. But yes, it was a grand mistake and a disaster because it was worse than and they looked us in the face and said, you know what, we don't care, go to court. So I think that we can't cut INEC any slack for whatsoever, because if they had done their jobs and plugged all loopholes, I tell you what, if I see my scores, I will, even if I want to debate it in court, I know that I'm debating half-heartedly because I know, say, I don't lose this election. But INEC had given so much grounds for people to, there's so much, my goodness, people don't even know what to believe. In fact, there's a group of people that kept calling Sheriff and I remember when Sheriff was on holiday and I was doing the morning crossfire, I almost cried. They kept saying, Nigerian, for you made us go and collect our PVC. You promised us that the elections were. I say, hey, now we're INEC. We're also the president. We're also APC. We're PDP. We're Labour Party. And you can't blame the people, because it's our job to convince them that, their votes count. They have to be part of the polity. And then they show up on election day. And some of them are not even allowed to vote. Some of them are beaten blue-black. Some of them don't even get access to their PVC. Some of them, their PVCs were dumped in the gutter somewhere. I remember on election day, on election morning, a bag of Ghana Must Go PVCs were found somewhere. And God bless the people in that community. We're going door to door to knock on people's doors to say, are you Mr. So-so-so, this is your PVC. Where do you find it? In the gutter. So it's a difficult scenario that the INEC has put us in. And if we do not put INEC on the hot seat and hold their feet to the fire, they're always going to have this garbage in, garbage out. And unfortunately, this is where we are. The Sierra Leonean elections are underway. I think they're almost concluding. Zimbabwe is also the elections. I tell you what, it's almost the same disaster. Why? if a country like Nigeria that we all look up to as the big brother in Africa is having such shoddy elections, who's to say that Sierra Leone and Zimbabwe will have better elections? Kudos to South Africa. Kudos to Kenya, who've always also been able to understand the situation of things and have been able to have somewhat credible elections where the people can all applaud and say, well, yes, Uhuru Kenyatta gave us a legacy. Can we say that's about the Buhari administration? Unfortunately.
No, there's a legacy. There's a legacy document coming out to Maryann. No.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, there's a legacy document on the way. I assure you, full chest.
Femi, we keep having these legacy documents that are all just a farce. You ask me, in reality, on the ground, when you look at it, Chioma has been doing groundwork, reporting, getting facts, and that's what Nigerian Info is about. And if all of these things don't, correlate with whatever legacy document is coming up, we're just on another, comedy ride, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. Fidel, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I want to jump in quickly. First off, just to say that no election has actually been free and fair in Nigeria. This is not the first time. There's always been, battles on the pitch, talking about the polling units and all of that. But I must say that I was not impressed by the outcome of this election, because I thought at the time we were told that nearly 90 million persons were successfully registered, and all of that. I was thinking we'll get 90 million, I mean.
Yes.
I was thinking we'll get a minimum of 60 million people coming all out, to come cast their ballot. But that didn't happen. We still had less than 30 million. We've never surpassed the 30 million mark, of voters in Nigeria from 1999 till date. When I got to the polling units, INEC didn't do us well with regards to...
It was dirty.
With regards, I didn't say dirty.
Oh, okay.
With regards to the fact that, when the beavers, technology was introduced, my thinking was, I don't cover INEC, all right? My thinking was getting to the polling unit. What you do is they just check your BVN. It's going to be like some electronic stuff, just check.
It's used.
When I saw ballot papers, I knew there was problem. You understand? Because for me, the beavers, I describe it as an advanced card reader. Don't also forget what happened to President Jonathan, when he was trying to vote. I mean, the card reader rejected his thumb about twice or three times and all of that. So when all of this happened, I knew that something was happening. I think INEC should have come all out, bring us up to speed. This is exactly how we are going to run it.
But they did.
No, it wasn't this clear. It wasn't this clear. All right. And one would have thought that, yes, I know sometimes they don't come on time, talking about INEC officials, ad hoc staff and all of that.
Most times.
All the time.
Okay.
If they are around, there are no materials. There's usually one complication or the other, And just to on the softer side to what Maryann said, everybody does not go to an election hoping to win. Some need it for their CV. To do their personal businesses and all of that.
And political appointments.
Because we know that going into this election, this just concluded elections, even when some of us forcefully had the NNPP, as the fourth force, it was actually a 3-horse race. And that was what happened. And now what we should be looking at would be the outcome of the tribunal, basically. Because
we're going to go into that shortly.
Yes, because, according to the Constitution, you have 285 sub 6, we have about 180 days, from the day the petition was filed. We have 180 days for the tribunal to even eventually concluded and, giving their verdicts and all of that. So many people not very happy with the outcome of these elections, for one reason or the other. Everybody would say, I won, and all of that. So I think moving forward, we should just, I know that, there's usually voter apathy and all of that, but that's, people voted, even with the apathy. Up north here, there was challenges here and there, but people came all out to vote. Some couldn't really cast. You'll find out some people will say, okay, let me come out at 1 o'clock when the crowd would have, tamed down and all of that. There's no such thing. People should also know that that day is just one day. Just come all out. If they say 7 a.m., come out at 7 a.m. Don't be in your house and say, these are the same people crying wolf. Okay, I can't vote. It's 12 midnight. Or rather, it's 12 p.m. I can't vote. I'm still at the polling unit and all of that. It will take us forward, really.
All right. Well, that's what we're thinking about it. Okay, so as we start to, I'm going to come to Andrew now. Andrew, it's an interesting question when one starts to go into the venture of talking about Nigerian election. It looks like the more advanced we go on one side in technology, then one kind something used to happen to, forgive my language, but one kind experience, it used to happen when it comes to the other side of we're getting it right. The results are in, and the results is what we are going by right now. Some describe it as disputed, some call it the heavyweight result, some describe it as, yes, this is the destined result. Some say we have not seen nothing yet. What's the feel you have when it comes to how people have received the results, or they gave me results and the likes of that? What's your take on how the election essentially was conducted in Nigeria, despite all the heavyweight promises of how Muhammad Ali was going to bash out Mike Tyson from the election?
All right. Let me start off by saying the election turned out how it did, and we had the kind of turnout we had because people just wanted a new face. I think people were just tired. Aside to what happened with the NSAS, people just felt we can't have the same people we've been hearing in this government running things to continue to see a change. And I think it was what really birthed the obedient movement, because everybody saw the candidate of that party at the time as someone who hasn't been in that mix too often on social media. As for the results, I think what INEC succeeded in doing is to demoralize Nigerians even more. They just succeeded in making it even more difficult for Nigerians to come out. I bet you the next election in, I think, 2027, I don't think Nigerians would even want to. People have just begun to look at the government and say, just when we're beginning to have hope with everything. And now it's going to be difficult to even tell people. Maryann was saying people called in and said, oh, you told us to get PVC. In Port Harcourt, it was a problem. Like, it was a problem. Chioma had to even come up with the rider when we finished the news signing off. Now I can't remember because I'm on leave. I've been reading news in a while.
Hey, my brother, wait. Andrew, come back. So small leave that you're on, right? Andrew, come back. Small leave, just small leave.
Andrew is proud.
Andrew, they must hear this matter. Continue your viewpoint.
Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. We had to bring that in because it was tensed. You could feel the tension. I would turn on the mic, and I don't even know how to talk to these people, because anything you say or do will be used against you on social media. You see you on the streets. It was intense, really intense like that. People don't, and I'll say it again, people look at those results and they don't agree with it with every ounce. And I don't blame them, because I covered the election. I went to polling units. I know what I saw. I saw what that was. So the problem was then coming in. And you know, when you go to this polling unit, some of these people know you and they see you. And then you come on air and you're telling them to be, you know, I think the NBC as well didn't help us too much, I must add. It was difficult, if we're going to be honest, because then you had plenty guidelines and plenty fines, and so everybody was being careful. So even things that we saw, you can't directly say that this is what it was. You have to try to be diplomatic in how you present something that you saw that was obvious. And it made Nigerians really look at everything as a scam, if I would use that word. It just became one books to a lot of people. And if we are going to go forward with this, I don't think Nigerians are interested. It's for those results, I need to explain. I would say something. Everybody makes the excuse. Oh, if you look at the US, they've been existing for over 500 years. They get it where they get it. And I asked somebody, it's the reason why the US paid the price. They got there, that's why we have to now. So we have to start from ground zero. The reason why we have the latest cars in this country, the moment they come out, anywhere they come out, is because we have technology. Why can't we apply same vigor and get things to work during elections, like you were asking? The Beavers machine, Fidel was saying, and I quite agree, because the first time I saw it, I said, if you can make a machine that can verify and show their information and data, what stops you from just putting the political party logo and candidate, whatever, in that machine? So as soon as you verify me, the next thing that comes up will be who I'm voting for, and I just click and I leave. But that was not done. Okay, now upload the result. Our polling unit to have people that say, oh, they did not give us the password to upload the result. Whose fault was that? And interestingly, we visited some of the RAC centers at the time, some INEC officials, and some of the guys that were, you know, at the polling units were talking to us. You just say we should go and do this thing. When we come back, we'll upload results. There was just a lot that was wrong with the whole process, hence the reason why people cannot take those results. It's very painful to say, but this is the reality. The reality is that Nigerians at the moment will not trust their government going forward, especially when it comes to election.
Okay, but yeah. So, Andrew, and I'm curious. I mean, if they don't trust the government going forward, from what you said, Andrew, are you with me? If they don't trust the government going forward, it makes me also wonder about let's go to court. I mean, that's the biggest phrase this year. No, it's not the biggest phrase. It's not the biggest phrase. Sorry.
It's one of them.
Wait, what's the biggest phrase this year? Can anybody? What's the biggest phrase this year?
For me, it's Emile Okon.
It's Emile Okon. Maryann, what's the biggest phrase this year? For you, what's the biggest phrase you've heard this year?
This year, go to court, darling.
Go to court. Chioma, what about you?
It was one word. It was one word. Disenfranchised.
Oh, okay.
Disenfranchised.
My
a lot of people called and kept saying, disenfranchised. Disenfranchised. It was just too much. Oh my goodness. And it wasn't in tandem with what people that said we had the fairest election.
Should I tell you people my own biggest phrase so far this year?
Which is yours?
Let the poor breathe.
that just came up yesterday, man.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I don't know how anything will be that phrase this year. Let us all breathe. Okay, so since we are in court and we are trying to breathe, let me pick up from where Andrew did start. Let's talk about the tribunal part of the election now. So we're seeing all kinds of angles towards the case. You know, the petitions have been written, it has been reviewed. Some parts remove this one, add this one. There's been all kinds of things going on when it comes to the petitions that were submitted. And no doubt about it, some of them have merits. And I'm wondering about how some of them actually have the play in the results of the election. There was one part of the petition that talked about how, for example, the president now, Tinubu and Shettima, were not qualified in the first place to even be the candidate of the APC. There was talks about, he has an international case running against him in terms of being in US, he cannot travel, this and that. He's wanted, he made a deal. There's also the part of, what am I missing out on? There are many components of it for him. There was also the issue of the results from Kano, the results from Rivers, and much more. These were some of the things that were being spotlighted as part of the elements that one will think about in the Election Tribunal. Let me start with Andrew this time. Andrew, your take, the biggest parts of everything they've added to the Election Tribunal. What are you making sense of? What do you think there's something to really follow through and investigate and understand? And the one that you're wondering, qu'est-ce que c'est? How we reach this one? What does this one have to do with the result of the election? I mean, what's your take? Let's start with the tribunal and how the whole case built up into what we have now.
A few things. First, my major concern would be looking at what the Constitution says about how INEC should conduct an election and how results should be announced and how results should be recorded, etc., as against the Election Act as amended. There's now the debate as to is the Electoral Act above the Constitution or the Constitution above the Electoral Act? So there's this conversation now. I remember after the election, one of the very first people I spoke with was of the APC. I think it was the national spokesperson of the APC. And he said something that was intriguing, and that was when I knew that this case would be won or lost on certain technicalities and certain loopholes that we have in the Constitution. Because when you look at the Act, it says, well, it did directly say INEC must transmit results electronically. That was not stated in the Act.
Not there.
Hanging on that one, making their case from that perspective, even if I, and then, at the time I was watching the tribunal, and because people found a way somehow still report the tribunal, even though there was no live streaming. And I saw that I think the Labour Party and its council had come to court with the television, and then the interview of the INEC chairman, or I think Festus Okoye, National Commissioner, speaking, talking about, we're going to transmit results live, we're going to transmit results at polling units, or we're going to do this and that. And the question was, is this admissible in court, the words of the INEC National Commissioner or chairman? Question, because then we have the Constitution that people would look at. and we have the Electoral Act that people will look at. Another thing is INEC's role in all of this. If you look at documents that some political parties, the River State was a serious issue. If you're going to look at the state level, for people to access the INEC office to get certain documents and forms that was needed to make their case. At the moment, the Labour Party is one of those parties that say INEC still is not responding as they ought to. We do not have access to certain documents. We do not have access to the beavers. We do not know what the back-end server looks like. INEC is not giving us access to this. Which
back-end server? Because last I checked, they had to wipe it in order for us to do governorship election. Is there anything to? I mean, am I missing something here?
You remember when there was talks to wipe up?
Oh, backup of the backup. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Back it up. Conversation about why would you want to wipe it to conduct governorship election, and then eventually I think they came to some agreement. They said it's backed up, it's safe in that back end server. That's the server that now the Labour Party is what parties just say, INEC, bring forth the server so we can look at this wonderful server of yours and compare what we want to have. But that has also not been presented in court so far, amongst many other factors that the Labour Party and other political parties would think that they have. And people also very concerned with how they think that in INEC trying to establish its position as conducted a current election seems to be taking. That's also another factor looking at. And most important is people saying, what should we have the president? Should we have the president-elect, now president, sworn into office while the case in court? Because now that he's president, the idea is he has all the powers. And how can we trust that he will be impartial and not, resist the temptation or urge to influence the outcome of proceedings? There's also that conversation. So if you're going to look at what's happening in that tribunal now, it's quite a lot.
Do you agree?
Yes. Let me quickly add to this. Right? He's talking about a while back. He was talking about why the president should be sworn in, president-elect be sworn in when a matter is in court. There are precedents already. It doesn't stop any tribunal. It doesn't stop any electoral process like the one that happened in Edo. There was a sitting governor, Osereme Osumbo, and of course after the tribunal, which went on for give or take the entire matter lasted 18 months or thereabout. Adams Oshomole was sworn in, as the governor. So there's no vacuum in government. I mean, it's in continuum. He can be sworn in, but the matter goes on.
But is 6 months ever enough to settle a case?
No,
like
6 months is not enough.
It's too much.
No, I already told you that the Constitution gives you 180 days, which is give or take 6 months from the day the petition was filed. And of course, definitely there will be a ruling. And if you are not satisfied, you go the whole 9 yards. Appeal court and Supreme and all of that. But I also want to point out one or two things that Andrew also mentioned, talking about the petitions filed. The matter of eligibility, for example, is purely an intra-party matter, right? If you are not, you can't be in your house and tell me what the goings on in my house. So, except, of course, an APC member in this case files that kind of petition, it won't see the light of day. That shouldn't be even a part of it. Now, the thing is, the tribunal gave them 3 weeks each, to present and their petitions and everything, evidences and stuff, and that has been concluded for the for the Labour Party and the PDP. That process has been concluded between 22nd and 23rd of June last week. So we'll now wait for them to, complete the entire process. Now, the thing is, what does the petitioner want? What does the PDP wants? What does the APC, the Labour Party, what do they want? So, because moving on to say that it's like writing JAM and WAEC. Let's use JAM, for example. You cannot write JAM, all right, and insist and tell JAM, in as much as this matter is in court, we will also try to, drive carefully. You understand? You cannot tell JAM, this is my score, when it was JAM that set the exams.
Which the one that we're passing at 1:45 now, the JAM exam.
Yes, maybe you JAM tells you your score was.
Guys, let me distract you guys. Fidel, I'm so sorry. I'll get back to you. What course do you want to reapply for in JAM now? Just out of curiosity. If you say you want to do course again in
JAM now,
yes, if you want to do JAM now, you
Modern Day Nigeria.
Which law. Chioma, which course do you want to do? Now that the cutoff is cutting is very low to cut off, what course do you want to do if you have to do JAM?
Same with
law.
It appears, yes.
Mimi, Maryann, sorry. Maryann, what course are you doing if you are doing JAM right now?
So the reason why I did not pass JAM in so many years before I decided to go and do what I did to do is law. So I will do the law by fire.
Andrew.
I did JAM 5 times. Five times. And in 2023, they are cutting it to 141.
Can you hear the pain?
That's painful, man.
I can hear the pains. This is not pain. I can hear the pain, sis, in your voice.
I'm in pain.
Andrew, what course are you doing?
Clinical trauma as well.
True. Andrew, what about you?
I always wanted to do medicine.
Medicine. Okay.
Wow.
No wonder you're proud.
Is it for Japa? Is it for Japa reasons? Let's just be understanding you now. Just asking. Well, I think I'll make. Yeah.
You promised to come back to me.
Yes. No. You will still come back to you. Yeah. Andrew, go on. You want to mention something?
I'm just saying, to jackpot these days, you really need less than medicine to do it. You don't need medicine. You need less than medicine to jackpot. It's like very easy now.
Very easy.
A reasonable jackpot. They have different types of jackpot.
That is good. My chest.
Whoa, that was cool.
That was cold. Reasonable jackpot. My dear, I never knew that existed. Okay, let's allow Fidel finish his line of thinking. I'll come to Maryann.
I was just talking about INEC being the electoral umpire. All right, they are the ones who set these exams, the elections, and they determine this is who won. That is why I feel that until proven in court, this is what it is. This is the result. You cannot contest the results I've given to you based on the fact that I'm the electoral umpire. But there's going to be some sort of course, the Electoral Act versus the Constitution.
But INEC is debating for their life. I don't know if anybody is following through on that. The way they are debating, you think, no?
I think they did a bad job with PRO. All right, because talking from different sides of your mouth, so at some point you tell us with BVAS, it's like BVAS is card reader.
Okay, so
do you understand? What's the difference between BVAS and card reader? And I also think one of the major challenges we have, yes, we know you have a right to association. Nigerians, the political parties are too much. When you want to do bad things, you compare us with American democracy. Yes, it is too much. Okay. Because even if it's not too much, every single party must not participate in the center. The presidential election. Some parties, like we say, US and all of that, some of them just concentrate on local councils, local governments, and mayor and all of that. Everybody must not bring in a candidate. Now, we'll get to a point, I'm taking this from what Andrew said, we'll get to a point where it becomes between the Electoral Act versus the Constitution. And you know what that is? That is why things are the way they are. It gets to a point, yes, you've been, You've been reviewing the Electoral Act. We've tried as much as we can to review the Constitution for many years now. That process started in
1997 did a good job.
2003 till now, we still have disparities and all of that. What's wrong with, you'll be shocked at the number of persons who voted against electronic voting. Giving some flimsy excuses. A case in point will be the last deputy president of the Senate, Ovioma Agege, coming out to say, this is new though, 10th Assembly is new, coming out to say that there are some areas in Delta, there are some areas in the South where the people live on rivers, the networks are really not good enough and all of that. That's flimsy for me. So what I'm trying to say now is the Electoral Act is more modern than the Constitution. So when the chips are down, you do not rely on the Electoral Act and you now go back to the ground norm, 1999 Constitution as amended. So it's neither here nor there, really.
I don't know, you guys, are you in with Fidel on this? Andrew, you wanted to say something quickly before I go to Maryann?
Said about the excuse that they give with regards to electronic voting. Just to support what he said even more, they give that excuse and say, in some parts of the country, people don't have access to the internet. But then when they brought the Naira crunch, we were all supposed to bank online. That was what they said. And they did not think that there were areas in this country that does not have internet, that people don't even have bank accounts. They didn't think about that. I think it's just lack of willpower to do the right thing.
There's something politically called wheelbarrow policy, which is you drive forward, you don't put it in reverse, just drive forward, no reverse. Oh, Maryann, nice picture, by the way. I hope we'll feature your picture as you take on. So let me ask you now, Maryann, what do you think about this? I mean, this old drama of we're in court, and the way it's going, a lot of people keep pointing out to INEC that they're defending like, they participated in the election, or they're defending with bias towards not just the result, but the candidates as well. Maryann, what's your take on this?
Just like I said, and I'm not going to move grounds on it, INEC did a shoddy job. They have created this fiasco for themselves. If they had maintained the tempo that they gave to us, or they started before the elections, because just like Fidel said, we've never necessarily had free, fair and credible elections, in this country. But then the kind of picture that was painted to us by INEC, it felt, a lot of Nigerians, in fact, those who traveled from outside the country to be part of this elections came because they were so certain that there will be some level of, fairness in this election, if not credibility, but some level of fairness. And that was not seen. And all of this fiasco, again, like I said, was faced by INEC. So the defense that they're doing right now, I'm sorry, it's medicine after death. It doesn't even make sense. It's not going to in any way make Nigerians feel better or feel different about how they feel concerning the elections, not the tribunal. I tell you what, a few people I've spoken to about the tribunal are like, never. I've seen these tribunals come and go. Nothing's necessarily going to come out of this. All we need to do is regroup and get ready for the next elections, and we need to start now. And then there are people who are saying we're certain the courts know that Nigerians are holding them at the jugular and they must deliver. Who are they supposed to deliver? To? Are they going to deliver against the president for the Labour Party? Are they going to deliver against the president for the PDP? What exactly is it going to be? Being that these two parties are almost on the same level, with almost the same number of votes. So it's an ongoing phase, and everybody's hoping upon hope that something good is going to come out of this. But if you don't put INEC's foot to the fire today, and them know that they're supposed to be independent, as the appendage in their names, supposedly describes it, then we're never going to have anything close to anything fair, not to talk about credible, in this country, until INEC at least shows us some iota of sincerity and in accountability, because so much, even if INEC asked us to give more money for this elections to turn out great, we could have done it. Because what they asked for, we continuously gave a nod to, and we gave them. So what is their excuse? And as far as I'm concerned, they're answerable to the people. And until they give us all the answers, go easy.
Go easy. It's not going to be easy something. Meanwhile, Chioma, let me allow you to round off on this, because I really want to touch on, I'll just talk on subsidy as well before we round off today, okay? Chioma, situation. Round it all off for us, because I'm out of question on this tribunal. I'm just thinking in my head, the lawyers are providing briefing, everybody is winning according to the that's going on. I don't know what to feel around the stories anymore. It's just like, if you put a full reality show where men and women are walking up and right now, walking up and down, or they're pretending to be nudists, I'm not sure it's so fascinating as much as the reality shows that we're running simultaneously in the arena of politics as we have it now. Chioma, your take on this, yeah?
I know when I listened to Andrew and Maryann talk about this, I couldn't help but remember all of the fake news. So covering it for the media, it's been something that you have to really do very carefully and make sure that what you're sharing is actually what came out from the court. So we've had witnesses talk about, oh yes, I went to the result portal and everything was wiped out, and people make a lot of things out of it. As we get close to the judgment day for this, I don't know, I'm not sure why Maryann thinks it will last for 3 years. Is it Maryann now or Andrew?
It was Andrew.
Okay, perhaps because there's going to be an appeal and maybe it's not eventually get to the Supreme Court. The thing remains that it's is one that is going to be a reminder that we still have a democratic system, okay, and that you can still be a part of the polls, and when you are not satisfied with what's going on, you go to court. And that's seeing the process to the very end. And unfortunately, it cannot be streamed live, but that's going to ensure that we get closer to perhaps convincing Nigerians to go to the polls again in the next 4 years. I am not still sure what the strategy is going to be, by the way, in convincing Nigerians to actually go and vote again. But I believe that concluding and wrapping this up, that's the tribunal, wrapping it up and showing transparency, that's the judiciary now, is going to be one of the first really small step, perhaps, of encouraging Nigerians to actually come out and vote in the next 4 years, Femi. But then, when you think about the state tribunal, it's actually underreported, for Rivers State especially, perhaps because they moved it to Abuja and the process isn't being followed, and a lot of the players are not sharing. Okay, you would call some of them to ask, okay, so where are you with this and what's happened in court today and all of that, and they are no one is really willing to talk. So I just wanted to mention that covering the state tribunals have not been
exciting.
Going on. Yes, as we said at the presidential, but we're going to stay on it, and we're going to do our best to bring it week by week. What exactly is going on in the court, so people will know exactly where that is going to end.
Dearly beloved, yeah, okay, Andrew, very quickly, because we have to press towards getting to subsidy and round off in good time, yeah? Go on, quickly.
I think for the next situation, Maryann mentioned something about INEC coming to really at least let Nigerians know, and Chioma just said that's the only way we can salvage this. I think one major thing we're forgetting to mention is the conversation at the tribunal or around the 24 states and 25%. That I think if INEC is able to, whether in court or to publicly make us understand what that means from its perspective as the umpire for the elections, it would go a long way to giving Nigerians some sort of hope in the process.
Subsidy. Buy a subsidy here. Buy a subsidy here. I don't know who's buying, but we're in the situation. Maryann is laughing. No, let me tell you the situation of things. I'm not smelling ragu anywhere, even burning ragu. You talked about putting our next leg to the fire. And I was thinking that somebody's putting ram to the fire, but it's not the same. Subsidy have touched everywhere as the situation is right now. It is not hilarious, but some say it's a bold decision. Some say it is bold and reckless. Some say it is risk-free. Some say it had to be done now. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced that fuel subsidy removal takes effect. No, I don't know. How did he say it? Because now it's about who said it and who is affecting it. The drama
subsidy is gone.
It's gone. Yes, that's the one I'm looking for. Subsidy is gone. Maryann, has subsidy come to your house? How is subsidy in your own environment?
I think that subsidy hit us the most in these parts. I mean, for everyone who lives in a big city in this country, and we have very few of them, subsidy has really hit us. But let me start by saying that whether the president said it in his inaugural speech or not, the budget for the new budget does not have any room for subsidy. And that means that it was already removed. It's just that somebody didn't have the guts to say it on national TV. It took a Bola Ahmed Tinubu to say it. Many of us may not like the president. Many of us may not have voted for the president, but he had to say it. Maybe the timing, a lot of people are querying the timing. He probably shouldn't have said it because you know how things work in this country. The moment a person that's notable says something, of course, everything changes. The market prices go up. The filling stations decide to go crazy. The regulators also take laws into their hands. And of course, your landlord will start sending you messages that, hey, you know that things are going up. So expect rent to go up. So, and lots of people, the debate is unending. The truth is that as Nigerians, we need to understand that subsidy has been removed. It's going, whether we like it or not. We were doing in the Buhari administration, because I'm going to go somewhere with this. We remember Occupy Nigeria. Who were the people that were the frontliners? Former President Buhari, Nasser El-Rufai, and the likes of them. These are the people who queried the Goodluck Jonathan for saying he wanted to remove subsidy at the time. I'll tell you what, for those who are mathematicians and economists, I'm not one of those, but I have small knowledge. If we had at that point taken out subsidy, at that time our belts were not as tight as they are today. It could have been a bit more easier for us, and there would have been cushioning effects because there was a plan. I don't think that the Goodluck Jonathan administration, with the likes of Okonjo-Iweala and several other, interesting people who worked in that administration, would not have had a plan as to this subsidy removal. But what did we have? What we had was people trying to politicize the idea of subsidy removal at the time. Nigeria was making a lot of money. We had an oil boom at the time. We could have done something about this subsidy removal. No, we decided to play politics. Now, there is no other better time to put an end to this subsidy, if not now, because what we will do if we keep pushing it is that we're delaying doomsday. And so it's best that it's being done now. Is it going to be easy on us? No, we're all feeling the pain. Companies are unable to, as it is now, the economy is facing a downturn. We cannot in any way decide that, okay, we'll increase your salaries, because we cannot. The companies cannot. And so what they have to
don't say it like that. Maryann, don't say it like that. Our CEO could be touched. Don't let him be inspired by this idea. Just inspire that our salaries can be increased.
That your CEO is also part of the situation. Somebody is also jamming him. So the companies have to come up with they have to come up with a plan, a hybrid working system. And this is what's going to happen for so many people. If you don't necessarily have to work in the office, then you can work from home, put in the same hours, monitor these things. Because the truth is, I'll tell you what, Femi, this thing was announced on a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, or Monday. It was announced on a Monday. Yes. From Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I spent nothing less than 40,000 Naira to go to work. For something that on a normal day I'll pay 3,000 back and forth. So to go for Uber, 5,000 Naira. To come back the same. The day that you're lucky, you see 4-5, if not 7,000. It just became madness. How much do you earn on a normal day if you spend at least 50,000 Naira in a week? So in 4 weeks, you spend your whole salary. If you're earning, let's say 150 or 200. So how do you pay your house rent? How do you pay the water bill? How do you pay for light? All of those things. How do you do it? And so companies have to devise a means, because if not, they will have to, send some people home. Because, of course, everything's going to be tight. So the reality is that, and I'm just going to keep this short so everybody else can speak. The reality is that subsidy has to go, must go. But we can't just say subsidy should go. All those people that have been pretending and chopping money under the guise of subsidy, we need to query where all our money is going.
But Maryann, I would ask you this. Somebody asked me this. He said, in politics, that sometimes people create simulations of imaginary groups, personalities, and say they are the ones responsible for this. Nobody has been able to tell who is a cabal or who makes up a cabal. What if this cabal in court now exists or don't exist? And so for some weird reason, we're blaming the cabal or whoever is taking this subsidy money all along, and we cannot really tell. At least they were a bank account. You cannot fit all the subsidy money inside a saving box at the end of the day. Somebody should know who somebody is at the end of the day. So if you are saying the cabal has been taking money, who are the cabal? Why is it so hard to point out who is the cabal?
Femi, the truth is that, we all hear about the establishments in the US, in the UK. We hear the establishment. Who are they? They're people, they're politicians, they're people, men and women in high places who have, connections with those in government. Because you see, my people, I think people have a saying that the rat that is in the is the one that calls the ones from outside that there's food though.
And that thing is true.
So exactly. So we can't also make it look like it's some outlandish group of people. They work within the confines of power. And I don't know if corruption can fight corruption, but the truth is, if we must be able to deal with this whole oil subsidy scam and all the monies that keep running and the oil that keeps going to other countries right under our nose, we need a serious person.
Okay. Okay, so what yeah, looks like Maryann will rejoin shortly. I mean, but we got the good crux of what she's saying with regards to that. Let me go the way of Chioma on this. Chioma, you are smiling, you are agreeing, you are disagreeing. Your face is like subsidizing everything Maryann has said.
Okay, so when you mentioned the removal of subsidy, I talked about all of the subsidies that were removed. According to Gary Bashir, he actually was revealing for the first time this week.
Yes.
Subsidy was removed for fertilizer, was removed for electricity, it was removed for, he mentioned like 6 things the subsidy already had been removed for. And we never knew. Nigerians were just left in the dark because they didn't want APC to lose elections like this. And so this has happened. And I agree with what Maryann has said so far. But then I'm thinking, because it's a report, it's an ongoing report for us, looking at the actual steps that's been taken by government to cushion the effect of this removal of subsidy. And right now, I find none. There's been so much English spoken in the news, but no action. What we do here, most times we want to do independent reports. So we go beyond what you're saying that you're doing. I want to see whether you're actually doing something. And palliative measures whatsoever for Nigerian people. We've only had people make promises. In River State, the governor has promised to provide buses. The only bus we've seen currently in River State is at the University of Port Harcourt. And when we asked, we were told that the bus is a federal government intervention bus that broke down. And so with the removal of oil subsidy, it was fixed. And now it's moving people from the different campuses for just 50 Naira. It's just one bus.
You forgot to say only, 50 Naira only.
You know, and it's just one bus, and we have 1,000 people on campus. But that's a different conversation. The only closest palliative measure we've seen, we haven't seen any, and that's quite disappointing for a nation that said, and we've had a conversation about first subsidy removal way back from 2012. So what's really happening? How are you planning to cushion the effect? How do you ensure that that businesses do not close out? How do you ensure that, I mean, we talked about this in one of our editorial meetings, the fact that people may be losing their minds. Yeah. Because when you're trying to punch the calculator and it's not adding up, it's frustrating. And so it connects to everything, including domestic violence. And I'm very interested in covering gender, by the way. So when you look at the delayed palliatives and the effect it's going to have, that's very disturbing for me. Yeah. When you also look at the fact that no one has been indicted, so much said about the cabals and whoever it is that's been eating the money, there's been no name mentioned and no one has been indicted. And that is unacceptable to me. That is highly unacceptable. And as a journalist, we're going to stay on it as well and keep asking questions and keep demanding.
You can't mention those names.
Beyond providing palliatives, give us a list of those. Palliative. I mean,
palliative. I'm sorry to cut you. Palliative. What is the palliative?
They said that the National Economic Council was told to come up with something, and then they're supposed to come up with
Chioma, so I almost said Chioma, my brother's lover. Let me not say my lover. Chioma, my brother's lover. Let me say it the way I.
My lover, now not hear you.
No, that's why I said my brother's lover. My brother's lover, so that I won't get into trouble. See,
okay.
What is more confusing for me, and I feel very dangerous right now. I don't even want to go near Fidel because he's been writing since you guys started talking about the subsidy part, and I don't even want to know what he's been writing. But I mean, it's because he's going to say some stuff. But I'm going to come to Andrew shortly. See, I've heard palliative, I've heard intervention. What's the other one? No, there's shock absorber or something like that. I've heard different terminologies used. In fact, under the President Tinubu's administration, I feel they've been more inclined towards the word using intervention. They have not used the word palliative. And I know technical reasons may exist on why they chose to do so and stay away from the word palliative. Maybe it's too Buhari-like, some way, so nobody wants to touch that arena. But Andrew, your take on this? It's been an interesting phenomenon just to understand what subsidy means to people. I was talking to someone. In fact, apart from the fact that jobs are all over the place right now, there are talks about job reduction in some industries. There are talks about transportation issues. People are not gathering people. I mean, I was recently talking to a friend who talked about the fact that he and his other colleague it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday situation, and then they flip the upper week is Tuesday, Thursday. Everybody has their own time that they carry their car. And by for people after going to church online now, they say they love God, but they cannot drive all the way to church. There are all kinds of structural adjustment program. Many of us do remember that. That's from 1986, okay? Structural adjustment program, SAP, Abby, that's been put in place in order to understand what is going on. And help me understand what is going on. Maryann and Chioma want to drag the cabal and ask for names. Me, I'm not there, but help me understand what's going on.
Yeah, very right. But then one other angle I'd like to touch, I'd like to start by saying, I don't think Nigerians at this particular point in time are upset about the removal of subsidy. I think the problem Nigerians have is how it's being done and what will be done with the money we are saving. So if we look critically, we'll ask ourselves several questions. I wrote down a few of them. And the first thing I want to ask is our refineries. What has been happening with the refineries? We've spent billions upon billions of naira on turnaround maintenance year after year after year, but no maintenance, nothing is turning around. Everything is turning on its own. That's the situation at the moment. And nobody is asking questions as to why. The idea would be if you were to remove, there was an agreement that the government had entered into when it was outlining a subsidy plan and organizing people was involved. And one of those conditions was to have the refineries working before you announce the removal of subsidy. At the moment, we don't. Last year, we had Mele Kyari say it was going to work January of last year, and then the Minister of State, former governor of my state, Timi Silva, came and said it was going to be sometime in October. And then that was the Port Harcourt refinery only. And then he moved it to December. And then they moved it to March this year. And now they've come out to tell us again that it's going to be like in the second quarter, but no dates. So we don't know what's happening. Who is going to probe all of that? And then while we're dragging and trying to sort that out, we had the Dangote refinery come upstream. Now, many feel that, well, the removal of subsidy coinciding with the Dangote refinery, well, there might be some plans in there to help. The Dangote refinery will not even make the price cheaper at the start of the Where would Dangote refinery get crude oil from that it's going to be fine? It's also a big problem. So there are loads of conversations around this. And so the government just removing the subsidy and Nigerians not seeing any clear-cut direction as to how are we getting out of the inflation that this is causing is what the problem really is at the moment. Remember, before the past administration, we had reports of about $80 million or thereabouts for people of the poor as palliative. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly. And my head was like, are you serious? We have refineries that are not working. They need to be functional. Can collect 80 million and will not share the money amongst poor of the poor that we don't know. Because from my understanding, the poorest of the poor people will not have bank accounts. There's no way a very poor person would even go to the bank to open an account in the first place. Because where they live, they don't have banks. So I don't see how they do it. And when you look at that and the other measures that are coming, CNGs, compressed natural gas. If you remember, Timi Silva was the first person. This was, I think, 2017, 2018, thereabout, 2017, 2018.
Yes.
I remember a professor to talk about who was looking for things like that. I was trying to understand, and he says it doesn't see, well, the safety of these things are questionable if you are going to convert cars that already run on fuel and say let them run on gas. When the basic problem with solve our refinery problem, just get the refineries running. That's like the first thing. We have a country where the NNPC cannot even tell authoritatively how much petrol we consume. They don't know. So that's like the rot in the system and the scam that we have. So when people point at the cabal, I think the cabal is the government because the government knows who and who. The informal sector, we have, and don't forget, we have the government militants.
Andrew, I understand you're in Bayelsa. I just thought I should remind you. I understand you're in Bayelsa for holiday. I just thought I should remind you.
Exactly. They also benefit from this. If you remember the last time, the past administration paid billions to one of the ex-agitators to safeguard pipelines. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party had said, it is impossible. When I thought about it, they keep saying that it is pipeline vandalism, people are stealing this oil. Do you know how much money is required to lift oil? First of all, even the companies involved in drilling the product are also culpable, because I will need to know the pressure level of what is going through that pipe before I can collect the crude. And when I lift the crude, I need a vessel. I'm going to transport this crude. Who has the money to finance such an operation?
It can be done. It's been done, so it can be done. If a pipeline can run for over 4 kilometers, it means it can be done. Fidel, you appear to have the list of the cabal because you've been writing for a while. Yeah?
Yes.
You have the list of the cabal?
No, not a list. Now,
you want to release their names?
Just hold on. You know, journalism is a risky business.
Wow.
The bottom line is, that's the name of my show.
Yeah.
The bottom line is the ground does not run. If it does, it piles up as ground on another place, making the previous running useless.
Yeah.
Now, remember in 2015 to 2019, there was an ad hoc committee set up on first subsidy. It was headed by Senator Bukola Saraki. You know, that's the outcome. We were stunned by the outcome. You found out that people who were doing subsidy business, importation of fuel and all of that, it got to a point, one very, very strong nationalist. The guy was the son of a very, very respected nationalist, late though. I won't mention names. He had no tank farm. He had no office. He just had an account number and a phone number. He was one of them. You know, and we now saw so many of them coming to the National Assembly to lobby because they didn't have the prerequisite requirements to do the kind of business they were doing. And that investigation went on for a while, and I mean, you know how our reports go, most of them lying cool just in the shelves, you know. These people began getting so much interest on this subsidy because it got to a point. At the time President Muhammadu Buhari, former president, took over, the price of crude worldwide was really low. You know, it got to a point it was even less than $30 to a barrel. That was why people then started, okay, where should we look at to, you know, just make sure that we get something. So the subsidy matter is just that it's happening. I remember in 2012, was it 2012? Yes, during Goodluck Jonathan, when they had to do protests, occupy Nigeria and all of that. He couldn't go through with that process. And we're talking about timing. There's never a good time, but I dare say this is a bad time. Looking at the global economic crunch, looking at all of the challenges we've gone through in less than a year, we had a redesign, we had an election, we had NSAS. No, not even NSAS.
NSAS was outside of this.
You know, I mean, maybe this would have been a bad time, but if you need to fund subsidy, there's a bad side to it. You need to go borrow. Yeah, whether it's internal or external, you need to borrow. And once you borrow, I think to fund subsidy in a month is between $400 and $500 billion naira to fund a month's worth of subsidy. And you know, nobody wants to go that route again because of the kind of borrowings we've done over the years. We are really in a bad time. It's just that it's so bad now that subsidy is leaving at this point in time, this very critical period, you know, and it's a major challenge for us. I don't know how we're going to navigate this curve because, I mean, everything is expensive.
Nigerians don't need to navigate.
There are no palliatives. And one would have thought palliatives would come in form of, you know, the transport sector. I mean, it's so unfortunate also that the government would usually plan for Nigerians. The Nigerians they plan for are actually civil servants. You know, okay, let's try and increase their salary. Labor is shouting, we need 200% increment and all of that. And one begins to wonder, what about people who work for themselves? What about people in the private sector? What about people who do in the informal sector, basically? You know, we just shouldn't plan for civil servants, people who work for government alone. That is why we are actually the victims.
But I presume the calculation is that if you plan along the lines of injecting civil servants in their salary, they would, you know, have more spending power, and that will translate to others.
No, it won't translate to others because it's like talking about minimum wage. Let's say you're in the US, minimum wages, there's always a cap. it mustn't be. Hold on. It mustn't be lower than $9 per hour. Now you work in an establishment in the US. Yours is $10 per hour. Let's say you have a child, you need a babysitter. You can't say I'll pay the babysitter like we do in Nigeria. You work in a cyber cafe, I'll just pay you 10,000. You cannot regulate that in Nigeria.
This your research is showing that you're trying to jackpot.
No.
Too accurate.
No, you know why I can't jackpot? I can't jackpot for just a reason. I have suffered too much for this country.
Wow.
Survive the bomb blast.
Wow.
You know, I would always push that in. Survive the bomb blast. Been here a long time. Most people who work in our industry, they don't get paid, whether in broadcast or in print.
Yes.
I have suffered so much to judge that, but I will not. I can't. I would have failed. I would consider myself a failure if I jack back.
If on top of everything.
We're not going anywhere.
I'm here. I'm with them.
Maryann says we die here. Chioma, you're not answering.
In London.
Yeah?
The last person that said what Maryann and Fidel just said, they now live in Canada.
No, I know some of those people. I know some of them. I'm not one of them, trust me.
Guys, we've got to really go at this time. I must say it's been a splendid conversation talking to Chioma Ezenwafor. Yeah, she is the news manager in Port Harcourt, Nigeria for Port Harcourt. Andrew as well leads the Morning Crossfire show in Port Harcourt like me. I copy him sometimes. It's so serious. I've reached the place where Nigeria matter is not too serious. It's serious but not serious.
Like this.
Yeah.
Make mistake was in color. Andrew will bring cake.
You see, me now, like in the last 2 weeks, I've been very gentle so that they can share a go meet and come to my side. You know, that kind of situation. Yes, I'm just saying, on behalf of a friend. See, we cannot be violent all the time. We have to let the poor breathe.
Let the poor breathe.
I have to say a big thank you to you guys. You guys are amazing. Chioma, Maryann, Andrew, Fidel, right here. Thank you so much. It's been spending time on the Roundtable. We continue the Roundtable tomorrow. Essentially, you have to join from 12 to about 2 p.m. tomorrow. Just check up for Nigeria Info on the city where you are in. But I think this day, radio is all over. So just tune in via the digital apps and I'm sure the platforms, and you'll be able to listen to us. We'll be streaming live on Facebook on all the pages we own. So you'll be able to watch as well. You can go back and watch this. Drop your comments and reach out to your guys. And Maryann says she's waiting for you people on Twitter. So in case you want to go and drag her, go and check her out. She's waiting to be dragged on Twitter. I'm trying to... Andrew, wait, what's your Twitter handle again? I'm sure that people will want to follow.
Is it Bielsa? They might not have network.
Igbo.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. That was cold. Andrew, come back. Andrew, come back. Come with a comeback now. Andrew, we can't hear you. No, this is not the time for your mind to
Andrew's my friend. Come on.
Yeah, it's for pay me on your behalf. Okay, of course, Mimi, she's waiting. I keep calling her Mimi. Maryann, she's waiting for you on Twitter. Yes. Your handle again?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Mimi Ayo. That's MIMIEYO.
I always like it when people read out their handle themselves. And of course, Chioma as well. Chioma.
Okay, at Chioma Ezenwafor, just remove the R.
Okay.
That's me. Find them.
By the way, your tweets are very, they are very electorable. That's not a word. Don't say that outside. You can learn something from there. But I learned from you guys as well. Fidel is also
I'm a serious
tweeting.
person now.
Yeah.
You bring everything.
If I am the least standard that you can use for seriousness, if you use me for seriousness, there's problem. Okay.
Yeah, mine on Instagram and Twitter is at Fidel Castro HBK.
HBK. It's Castro. The name Castro, it reminds me of a very means. Oh, sorry. It's a
revolutionary Cuban man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that why?
No, that's not why. You don't want to hear the story.
No, I don't want to hear the story. Fidel is always with stories, a lot of backstories, by the way. So if you want to know something about what happened in politics and in music, essentially that will transform your life, Fidel is the guy you want to go to on his handle and, of course, on his podcast when he puts all that together. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I love you guys. I have to say that this way. They may not gather us again. The people that is organized around the table, Sandra, Sheriff, Carl, everyone other person who put this together, Babatunde, and the likes of every other person. I mean, it's a large crew that makes this happen every year. Yeah, sometime in the mid-year, and then the last part of the year, which is the end of the year, we put this together. But tomorrow, day 2 will be on the roundtable, so don't miss out on that. It starts at noon all the way to 2 p.m. New set of conversation. Nigeria matter no they finish now. Last. Abi, they finish. They finish. Thank you so much for all you do. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day.